and the chairman of the Foreign Trade Subcommittee. He is a member of the Board of Governors of the Management Development Institute. On a personal note, Mr. Sinha and his wife live in Gurgaon, Haryana, and they have two grown-up daughters, Pooja and Anjali. His hobbies include golf and reading. Before I request Mr. Sinha to come and address this lecture, I request Sadika to come up and offer a bouquet to Mr. Sinha and then ask him to deliver the address. Sir.
Of our time, a drawing called the Split Level Branch. Marvelous.
What's this, Professor?
A spherical object being set all in each other with great velocity. Further slip down. What's this? This device produced excruciatingly loud noises to which they would gyrate in pain.
Professor! What is this? What is it?
I have no idea. The choice of a new generation.
Friends, good evening. I certainly would like this pavilion to end this way. However, I'm sure that the gentleman that Mr. Ayaz Speedboy was, he wouldn't allow me to do so. While I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, one of the persons I admired and read about was Mr. Ayaz Speedboy. And I'm indeed grateful to Sadika and Bunty. Sadika, sorry, you said something about some name before you, Sadika? Bosni Sadika, as she's known. To Bosni Sadika and Bunty for inviting me to deliver the 19th Ayaz Speedboy Memorial Lecture. I am truly honored. It is indeed a rare privilege and honor. While thinking about what would interest Mr. Ayaz Speedboy, or what would he like me to speak about, I pondered a great deal. And I thought that he was one of the greatest communicators of his time. So I decided the title of my talk as Communicating with the Consumer in the New Millennium. I can take the liberty of talking about my friend and senior colleague from Levers, Mr. Paul. When he and I were consumers in 1960s and 70s, consumers didn't count in this country. Consumerism was a bad word. Profit and profiteering were synonyms. I still remember very clearly, in the early 80s, agonizing in the boardroom of my old company, Hindustan Levers, whether to give an 18% dividend or a 19% dividend. 20% was surely a means to an end, because either the Bureau of Industrial Costs and Prices would raid us for profiteering, or the Monopolies Commission would catch us for exploiting the consumer. Now those were the times that some of us grew up in. Similarly, the mindset of most government officials and some segments of the public towards advertising was that it was a wasteful expenditure, almost profligate. In a shortage economy, communicating with the consumer or enabling her to make an informed choice was not considered legitimate or necessary. Consumers what the well-connected captains of industry decided to produce. Why then work at making a connect with the consumer? Why at all give her the right to choose? And why bother about the young, the new generation? They would anyway use what their parents told them to use. Thankfully, this has all changed. The pace of change has been ad hoc and sometimes frustrating. However, we do open the 21st century without many of the aberrations that prevented India from truly integrating in the world economy. India's institutes of higher learning and our management skills have facilitated a leapfrogging into the world of commerce, business and management. This poses new challenges and the battle for the consumer's mind in the new millennium will require entirely new skill sets. This, the famous management visionary, Matsushita had foreseen some 50 years ago, that it would not be technology or labor or money that would limit a firm's future. The biggest issue would be management, with the passionate commitment to core precepts, receptive and flexible. What is more important, he said, is to have an open mind. Adopting, anticipating and engineering change has been a passion at Pepsi. Primarily, as our core communication target, the young adolescent just do not allow brands or advertising to play tag. I am, during the course of my talk, going to draw heavily on my experience during the last 7 years with Pepsi. It has been a truly amazing journey for me, and the brand whose stewardship I have the privilege of discharging. I can't claim to be a marketing guru like my friends Alec or Shunu. I believe it is because of brand Pepsi that I have been invited to deliver this talk. Pepsi anticipated the changing times early and well. At the launch of Pepsi in India 10 years ago, Indian society and the economy and the company's corporate managers were experiencing momentous times that today are referred to as the years of liberalization. Pepsi was virtually the first company to test these new waters. More than the environmental issues, the brand angle consumed us. Here was an essentially international product, very Western in personality. This had to be retained. But the Indian mind uniquely filters through things Western. The mix had to be just right to create vibes and upward empathy spiral. More so, the dawn of the new era had to be appropriated to match the moods of the times. Pepsi found the answers in a series of hybrids that went down amazingly well. Ours is an assimilative culture, and such fusions, if tailored well, ring buttons of unusual connect and empathy. So was born a unique genre that synthesized Western and Indian music with a very Indian imagery. And then came the taglines in English, and I'm going to spell it Hinglish in English, starting with Yahi hai right choice baby.
Do you think our layer Pepsi song is really catching on?
The word choice, I believe, was the key to capture an entire mood. Here was India through the eyes of an essentially Western brand. Here was Indian song, sung by Remo, a unique blend of an artist. And the ad belts out scenes that are so typically Indian, again and again, reinforcing the word choice. Choice, the magic had truly begun with this mantra that would pamper consumers in the brave new liberalized world. I think we have succeeded then because Pepsi as a brand brought forward the importance of consumer connect. This shall be the touchstone of marketing, brand and advertising success in the millennium to come. Consumer connect shall be the starting point of the new paradigms that will govern successful consumer communications in the new millennium. The marketplace shall be very crowded in a manner very different from the crowds that one imagines today, and I shall deal about this later. To cut through the clutter and to be successful, one would need to establish an awesomely intense connect with the consumer. This is the type of connect that will sort the winners from the losers in the new millennium. We are moving into an era of mind-space capture of gigantic proportions. As I mentioned earlier, the nature of crowding of the marketplace is changing. In the years gone past, the challenge was what to put into the space today and increasingly more for tomorrow. The emphasis will shift to how. Just look at how the basics of branding and consumer marketing are changing. The AIDA, Attention, Interest, Desire, Action model, so eloquent in its simplicity, is in part being replaced by what would be called DSF, the Discovery, Search, Find model. These are the rules of the internet. This concerns me less as of today. We are still on a voyage of discovery on the web. Traditional thinking is still being innovatively applied to whatever is being created and transacted around cyberspace. The real paradigm shift shall happen. The web shall impact how humans think. In our country, with over 500 million consumers to connect with, and a very limited number using the internet, our approach to connecting with the consumer will still be connecting with the mind and emotion while providing accurate information. Till not many years ago, so many ads for liquor, cigarettes, consumer durables, automobiles had one thing in common. A pretty, sometimes dressed, sometimes not so, female draped in the product. This half-nude woman approach to creating interest and impact is now almost dead. What works today is superior content, empathy reflecting the rising aspirations, demands and desires of today's and tomorrow's consumer. Observe how the importance of being foreign has declined. The focus is now on quality. Foreignness is no more valid. Connect. Good and possibly international quality certainly is. In fact, the next series of ads that I will show you illustrates how a very Indian feel and local view of things, Western, is increasingly being woven into our communications. Traditionally, the belief has been that India is 10 to 20 years behind the Western idiom of expression. This gap is compressing, and as we catch up, it will become important to predict how international trends shall find Indian expression. For example, the economic boom-led lifestyle of the late 80s and the early 90s reflected the earlier decade vis-a-vis the developed economies. These have now moved to a more introspective mood, reflected so well in the earth tones and the whites that color the fashion industry. In India, change is manifest in a far more confident and bright hue. This confidence comes from a variety of influences. We escaped the economic downturn of the Southeast Asia to our regularly churning out international beauty queens. With this confidence will come brighter colors, a little bit of rebellion, more independence in relationships, a more open attitude towards sex, and so on. These are the shifts that will need to be anticipated ahead of the curve to communicate effectively in the 21st century. These can be well examined through two lenses: change and community. Change is the currency of our professional and personal lives. But what is more awesome is the rate of change. The acceleration is geometric, even exponential. Let us, for a brief while, address yet another C, the computer chip. The development time between 286 and 386, and 386 and 486, and 486 and the Pentium, I am told, halved with each product. This pace of change